Good morning.
You're all looking just fine, and I want to welcome you here this morning, and to those who are on the World Wide Web who are now listening to us. We welcome you here. If you're in Oklahoma City at any time, you're more than welcome to attend our church at 50th and MacArthur in MacArthur Square, with services at 10 o'clock for study classes and 11 o'clock for church services. You're more than welcome. We are in a study of the 7th chapter of the book of Luke, and we're taking a notable look at the healings that Jesus did while he was here with us in physical form, and trying to glean from those healings what was going on, what was happening, why these people. Not everyone that Jesus approached was healed by any means. Some were not healed at all. Josephus tells us that many who came to Jesus were not touched in any way, because for some reason or another they did not accept the ministry of the teaching of Jesus. Most of the healings that we have in the New Testament are desperate people. People who have tried everything else. The woman with the issue of blood tried everything. And so what did she have to lose? What did she have to lose? To go through the crowd and touch the hem of his garment, which, by the way, was against the law in Israel. What would the blind people have to lose by calling him? What would they have to lose? They have nothing to lose. Now, today we're going to show the receptivity of healing according to the consciousness of the individuals that Jesus approaches. We go to a place, and that place in the 7th chapter of the book of Luke is called the Gazarene, or the place of the Gazarenes. This place was located across the lake from Galilee. Now, it's odd. You see, the Bible is full of little stories within stories. And you are to understand that Galilee was on one side of the lake. It was a place of peace and joy and a place of prosperity, while the other side of the lake was a place of abject poverty, often. Starvation, poor crops, many odd things happening over there. Kind of what the Jews might call a Gentile nation. Now notice these things about this demon-possessed man. It always makes me laugh. Because when Jesus is at his highest, and he's on top of the mountain, and he's having a good time with God, and he's understanding God, and he's declaring truths, when he comes down off the mountain, there's an insane man meeting him. There's a lesson here for us. My grandmother used to say, and I heard a lot of the old people say, you have to stay prayed up. And that's exactly what he did. He had to stay prayed up, because he would meet the most dregs of the earth, for goodness sakes. They come to him. But I want us to notice some things that maybe we have just bypassed as we read this story. We were interested in the man. And by the way, this man who is sitting among the tombs, you think that's unusual? It is not. The police and medical doctors tell us that often people are found in the tombs, in the cemeteries, sitting among the tombs. Isn't that odd? We just can't understand that. How could that? We thought that was just a Bible story. I remember just as a young man, we had a cemetery at the end of our street, and there was a man there who lived in there and sat inside where the tombs were, and he would lay and sleep all night in there. And he would eat in there. He built a fire in there. They finally came and got him. First of all, let's notice about this man that he wore no clothes. He had no outer concern about himself. You see this mental condition. You see how this deterioration of the mental condition is taking place here? He could not show forth the beautiful garments. There's nothing wrong with wearing nice clothes. There's not a thing wrong with that. But he couldn't show forth that because he was just simply sitting there naked, Isaiah 61:10 says this about your beautiful clothes. It says, He has clothed me with garments of salvation and arrayed me in a robe of righteousness. So that's what you're dressed in this morning. You may not see it in the outward, but as a spiritual being, that's what you are. Now, these clothes are coverings, and their meaning is revealed in the story of the prodigal son. All stories in the New Testament have connection with one another, but we have to think it out. We have to see what the connection is. The insane man and the prodigal son had one thing in common. They both left their beautiful garments at home. You ever been in a situation that's really bad? Did you leave your beautiful garments at home? The prodigal son did, you know. He got back with the father and he was scraping around and crying and carrying on the father. First thing he did is give him a robe of righteousness and a ring of authority. And that's what you have this morning. Now, this no clothes business. When you don't have any clothes, you're exposed to the outer elements around you. You're exposed in the spiritual to sin, sickness, and death when you don't guard yourself. Violent thought is able to get in when you do not have on your robe of righteousness. It's important today. We're talking to everyone in the auditorium, on the World Wide Web, wherever you are, that it is important that you have a robe of righteousness or rightness on to protect yourself from all the stuff that goes on in our world. We see so much on the news that we scratch our heads and say, what is the meaning of all of this? What could possibly be going on in the minds of people that they go out with no robe of righteousness and they commit so many crimes? When you don't have on your robe of righteousness, especially in the Bible lands where it's so warm, you think it's warm here? We're talking from Oklahoma City, but it is warm there. 120, 125 would not be unusual. It would not be unusual in the desert places for the bushes to break out in fire because it's so warm there. So if you don't wear your robe of righteousness, you are exposed to the heat, and you will suffer from the exposure of the stuff. Stuff, underline that, the stuff that goes on. Secondly, about this man, he did not live in a house. Now, the Bible said he used to live in a house. It said that he had not lived in a home for a long time. Now, what they call demon possession then is what we would know it as mental illness today. These people were mentally ill. The house represents a place of safety and gathering of possessions, a place of love and joy, a place of protection and reconciliation. You know, even an old dog, when it's hit by a car, will run for home. May not make it all the way there, but it'll run for home. One day I was going down the street in the middle of the night, and I hit this big old hound dog. And I thought, oh, he's deader than a doornail. I wasn't going very fast, and he just came right out in front of me. I couldn't stop. But then, and I heard him bump under the car. I said, oh my. But then, as I slowed down to take a look, there he went across the field just as fast as he could go. He knew where he lived. And he knew he was probably all bumped up, and he was going for home. What is our home?